that, we take a look at the current situation in North Sumatra, Indonesia, following the recent volcanic eruption. The Tzu Chi Malaysia Chapter hosts teachers training seminars, which are joined by educators from across the country. Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Helen Liao. Thank you for joining us. In Indonesia, North Sumatra's Mount Sinabung erupted once again on November 23rd. This is the third time in the past few months. A state of emergency was declared, forcing some 10,000 people to flee from their homes. Schools in and around the area were also evacuated, and students had to attend classes in the temporary shelters.
North Sumatra's Mount Sinabung erupted once again on November 23rd, sending bursts of hot ash and gravel in the air. Local authorities have raised the volcano's alert status to the highest level, and some 15,000 people were evacuated from their homes.
We began evacuating the area a few days ago. Although some villagers have yet to leave, we will continue to urge them to evacuate immediately.
To ensure classes are not disrupted, schools close to the perimeter have also been evacuated. In celebration of this year's Teachers' Day, students put on a simple traditional dance to celebrate the occasion.
We are happy, yet we feel sad at the same time, as this is an event we normally celebrate at our school each year.
A 6th grader Cynthia's school is situated within the 5-kilometer radius of the volcano. She now has to attend classes at the temporary shelter instead.
These books are being provided by the school, and the uniform we are wearing are the kind donations of others.
The aid supplies which have poured in from all over have cluttered the temporary shelters. As most of the evacuees living here are farmers who have lost their livelihood, they hold a grim view of the future.
I hope the volcano won't erupt again, so we may return to our home soon.
At the Teachers' Day celebration, everyone comes together in sincere prayer, hoping to restore peace and harmony in the coming days.
As relief work continues in the Philippines, Tzu Chi volunteers travel to Tugat to carry out disaster surveys and also discuss with local officials of the ways to help residents rebuild their homes. Meanwhile, in Tacloban City, besides the Cash for Work program, Tzu Chi volunteers are also cooking instant rice for the typhoon survivors.
With cups, bowls, or plates in hand, over 1,000 local residents stand in front of huge pots of freshly cooked rice as they wait to receive their share of hot meal. This may well be the first serving of hot food many are receiving since the typhoon.
Over the past few days, the disaster survivors rarely had any good food to eat, so we cook up some instant rice. Master Zhen Yin is quite concerned with their diet.
Within 30 minutes, 20 boxes of cooked instant rice are handed out to typhoon survivors.
They are so happy that they couldn't stop cheering, so I felt really bad that they have waited so long to enjoy a hot meal.
Beginning on November 26 and for 2 consecutive days, Tzu Chi volunteers have cooked hot meals in Tacloban City. With the area still out of power and water, volunteers had to transport water from elsewhere to prepare the meals. Tzu Chi plans to continue with its Cash for Work program to help survivors rebuild their homes as soon as possible.
In Australia, citizens enjoy several social benefits, including government-funded medical insurance. For those without insurance, like refugees who have been in the country for less than 6 months, seeing a doctor can be a problem. In 2004, TIMA members began hosting annual dental clinics for refugees, and the compassionate care given during these events was a major relief for those who were still struggling to let go of their terrorized past. From transportation to translation, Tzu Chi's free clinics do whatever it takes to ensure these refugees get the care and attention they need.
Riding personal shuttle buses, Tzu Chi volunteers and TIMA members in Australia are holding another free dental clinic for refugees. Mobilizing over 100 volunteers, the staff-to-patient ratio is nearly 1-to-1. which means both the young and old have a chance to get their medical needs looked after.
Have you ever seen a dentist before?
No, this for my first time.
First time?
First time.
And my teeth is, this one is,
Yeah? Is that so you took off in Egypt?
yeah.
Those from poorer countries are not likely to have cavities because they don't eat many sweets. However, dental hygiene can be an issue. If they do not floss on a regular basis, plaque buildup can lead to periodontal disease.
Each year, Tima's free clinics help refugees from Somalia, Rwanda, Myanmar, Sri Lanka, and many more, carrying their aches and pains and showering them with love. Most refugees are private about their personal information, thus even at free clinics, those without authorization are not able to enter those doors. In Australia, those without medical insurance might wait anywhere from 3 or 5 years to see a doctor at a public hospital. Thankfully, over the past 10 years, Tzu Chi volunteers and Tima doctors have been providing refugees with access to free medical care.
When the refugees come, they're not always eligible for the benefits that we offer in Australia. So some of them will come with very little money, and to go privately would be very expensive.
Australia's Tima team first started with only 4 members. However, that number has grown to over 200. Many members are those who immigrated from Taiwan and want to make a difference in their adopted country. In 2002, a team of dental students joined Tzu Chi volunteers to hold free clinics for the Australia's remote villages. Then in 2004, they set out to help those in their local communities, but were met with suspicion.
One reason is that they didn't trust us, and we realized trust needs to be built. Second, when we said we were going to provide free medical care, they were still apprehensive because we are a Buddhist organization. They didn't believe a Buddhist organization would help Christians.
However, in Tzu Chi, religion has never been an issue. Tima's continuous free clinics soon melted away the suspicions, showing once again through medical assistance, borders are crossed and seeds of love planted.
In Malaysia's Klang, over the past 2 weeks, local Tzu Chi volunteers have carried out over 260 fundraising events for the disaster survivors in the Philippines. Volunteer Jo Lee Hong and her husband also seized the opportunity to raise funds at their wedding ceremony.
Although they are unable to help the Typhoon Haiyan survivors in the disaster zones, Malaysia's Kelang Tzu Chi volunteers do their best to canvass for donations on the streets. Over the past 2 weeks, Kelang Tzu Chi volunteers have worked tirelessly by taking part in countless fundraising campaigns to help those affected by Typhoon Haiyan.
The disaster in the Philippines has taken many lives. We do our part to help.
Among the fundraising volunteers is Zhou Li Hong, who was also preparing for her upcoming wedding ceremony. The newlywed couple seized the chance to canvass for donations on their special day.
Over the past few weeks, the Filipinos have suffered from the devastation of natural disasters.
Since I'm able to help, I will seize the opportunity to do as much as I can with my Tzu Chi brothers and sisters.
It's good to see that this couple has taken advantage of their special day to give their friends and family a chance to contribute their love to those in greater need.
On the day of the wedding ceremony, Tzu Chi volunteer Chen Lizhu, with the permission of the couple, encouraged attendees to contribute their share to help the less fortunate. Countless guests gave a little of their love.
It's good to help the needy. Such experience is a first time for me.
This is a great experience because we are here not only to give our blessings to the couple, but also can help those in the Philippines.
Global volunteers who, despite being unable to provide assistance in the disaster zones themselves, still do their share to help those in need.
In Taiwan, a person dies of cancer every 13 minutes. Thus, most patients, when diagnosed with cancer, think that their illness is incurable. However, this is not always the case. Most cancers, if detected early, have an 80 to 90% chance of successful treatment. Only when a patient has reached the terminal stage of their illness, with the cancer spreading to other organs, would treatment be difficult. In our next report, we take a look at the key to successfully defeating cancer through early diagnosis and treatment.
When I was diagnosed with breast cancer, I was very worried and scared.
Upon receiving the news, 54-year-old Miss Wu reacted with the same shock and disbelief as most people would. However, the doctor's thorough explanation settled her anxious heart.
Fortunately, it was detected very early. I was at stage 1, so I didn't need chemotherapy, just radiotherapy. Therefore, the process wasn't so exhausting for me.
After her surgery, Ms. Wu began radiotherapy treatment and was put on other medication as well. The treatment method was not only effective, but also spared the patient from any unnecessary side effects.
Early diagnosis can prevent the spread of cancerous cells to other parts of the body.
When I come here for my radiotherapy, I just think of it as going on a trip. It helps to ease my anxiety.
There are 5 basic stages of breast cancer. For patients in stage 0 and stage 1, the survival rate after treatment exceeds 95%. However, less than 25% of those in stage 4 of the illness survive over 5 years. Periodic screening will assist with early detection.
It's more difficult to detect lumps in the breast through self-examination during the early stages. You need to do an ultrasound or mammogram for a proper diagnosis.
After 6 months of treatment, Ms. Wu made a speedy recovery. The day of her follow-up happens to be her birthday.
When I saw Dr. Ling, I was truly moved. The operation was a great success.
Combating cancer cells requires the cooperation of both medical personnel and the patients themselves. In addition, early diagnosis and treatment increases the overall chance of successful treatment by 5-fold.
Early diagnosis and treatment can spare patients from having to endure the pain of chemotherapy or radiotherapy should the cancer spread to other organs.
Currently, Taiwan's Ministry of Health provides breast cancer, colorectal cancer, oral cancer and cervical cancer screening to local residents free of charge, as these 4 types of cancer account for 1/3 of total cancer cases. If cancer is left untreated or discovered too late, treatment may no longer be effective once patients reach the terminal stage of their illness. However, there is another option that may help soothe a patient's bodily and emotional pain at this stage. In our report tomorrow, we take a look at alternative medical care provided by palliative care wards.
Recently, the Tzu Chi Malaysia Chapter organized a series of teachers training seminars in which educators from across the country share their ideas with colleagues. In addition, participants also gain a better understanding of how to incorporate Jingsi aphorisms into their teaching materials. Here's more.
Here at the Tzu Chi Malaysia Chapter, volunteers have organized a teacher training seminar where educators can exchange ideas on teaching.
During this training seminar, I have learned a lot of new skills that I can share with my co-workers and students back at my school. I look forward to creating a joyous learning environment.
The role a teacher plays is not only the instructor of textbook knowledge, but also a mentor accompanying students on their path in life.
As teachers, we need to first clear our minds and figure out what messages we want to give our students in order to help them grow up right.
Right now, academic performance is the sole indicator from which students' achievements are judged by the public. However, I think what's more important is character education. That is something we educators should give priority to.
Nonetheless, it is not an easy task for teachers who have good communication with their students, so they learn to reflect on themselves first.
As I see my child, it's like seeing myself in a mirror because I see all my flaws reflected in him, so I have to change myself first.
Through reading their students' journals, teachers can better understand what students want and care for them in an appropriate manner.
If I had learned this method earlier, I would have had them write their journals on a regular basis. Students are always welcome to share their feelings with me. However, exchanging letters is a better way of communication.
Volunteers also introduce the participants to Jin's aphorisms, which can be adopted into teaching materials as a way to spread the seeds of love in schools and society. At the flower arrangement class, participants also learn to cultivate their body and soul.
I feel excited and curious about this class because this is my first time taking part in a flower arrangement class. This activity requires an attentive heart. However, I am a reckless person, so I need such a class to cultivate my heart.
As these educators immerse themselves in the event, Tzu Chi's humanitarian education has slowly inspired them to follow suit.
The Jingsi aphorisms she taught us are much related to our lives. Our students will feel the same way too. Since they are young, they can easily remember the teachings behind these words of wisdom. If we create some fun activities, they will definitely love to learn from them.
Students may have a difficulty in grasping the meaning of Jingsi aphorisms. However, it is still necessary to teach them, as the words of wisdom may bring about subtle yet positive influences.
Over the course of the day, the volunteers teaching on Jin's aphorisms leaves these teachers with a new perspective on education.
In the aftermath of the 9/21 earthquake in Taiwan, Tzu Chi built more than 10,000 prefabricated buildings to give disaster survivors a temporary place to call home. To make sure students around the disaster areas could continue their education, some of these prefabs were later transformed into classrooms. What is so special about Tzu Chi's prefabricated classrooms? All of them are made with eco-friendly concepts in mind. Next, let's learn more about these prefab classrooms. Students reading out loud inside the classrooms. This is the scene at the Jidong Elementary School in Meinong District, Kaohsiung. As the school is under reconstruction, students are currently studying in 14 prefabricated classrooms built by Tzu Chi.
The classrooms are just the right size and the building materials are great. We know that our students can continue their education in these prefab classrooms free of worries.
In 1999, following a devastating 9/21 earthquake, Tzu Chi built 1,743 prefab houses and classrooms for disaster survivors. 11 years later, in the aftermath of the Jiaxian earthquake, Tzu Chi provided some of the prefabricated classrooms built during the 9/21 earthquake to the Yujing Junior High School and Jiaxian Elementary School. Now, classrooms that were once used at the Jiaxian Elementary School have been moved to the Jidong Elementary School.
There are three things to consider when building a prefab. It has to be easy to install, easy to transport, and can give disaster survivors a sense of belonging.
The prefab houses built by Tzu Chi are not only comfortable and safe, but also offer residents a sense of home. These same prefab buildings are also used in Tzu Chi's international missions.
Other than considering the structure of the building and the possibility of its reuse, we have also incorporated eco-friendly concepts when building them.
as the prefabricated classrooms at the Yujing Junior High School are no longer needed. All of them will be transported to other needy schools across the island. With the concepts of cherish and reuse, Tzu Chi volunteers hope to inspire students to reduce waste and love Mother Earth. On December 14th and 15th, the Tzu Chi Singapore chapter will be putting on performances of the musical adaptation of the Water Repentance Sutra. In our next report, let's meet on-stage volunteer王增峻, who is also a Tima doctor. Despite not knowing how to read or write Chinese, Wang's determination has been the key to helping him overcome the language barrier.
I am very busy and don't have much time for myself.
Wang增-jun is a busy doctor that works in his dental clinic 4 days a week. On the days that he is not working, he volunteers at the local Tzu Chi Free Clinic Center. Furthermore, Dr. Wang also dedicates his Sundays to study groups and recycling activities.
Before, I always thought that there are no poor people in Singapore. After joining Tzu Chi, I realized that there are many people that are living on the fringes of society. I want to contribute my share and help them.
To help those in need, Dr. Wang and his assistant often bring their dental services to patients.
我们要过后要给你做一套新的假牙，上面下面做新的。
比谢谢还要深，更有一份情，有一个爱家。也是感恩你们全部。
I feel very happy. My legs can still walk, still knee down. You don't see them, you don't know. If you think why my life is like that, when you see them and compare to her, I'm so much better.
In spite of his busy work schedule and the language barriers, Wang增-jun, who cannot read or write Chinese, has made it a point to participate in the upcoming sutra performance.
I cannot read, cannot write Chinese, but when I hear it, I can understand a little bit of the meaning. I try to learn the music and steps, the steps that synchronize with the music.
Through the countless rehearsals and the accompanying sutra study group, Wang has slowly taken the Dharma to heart. Although now a devoted volunteer, Wang增-jun says that he once quit volunteering at Tzu Chi because he was unhappy.
I took off from Tzu Chi for a year to rest. I was very mad and unhappy, so I decided to quit volunteering.
很生气，里面很生气，很不高兴。
Thankfully, a trip to the Jingsi abode in Hualien, Taiwan, reignited his passion for Tzu Chi.
I remember Master De Rang said something. Every day I beat on the drum, and I hope the drum can spread peace to the world. After, I told Master De, I want to come back and to change my uniform.
Now a certified Tzu Chi volunteer, in the years to come, Wang增-jun promises to use his professions to alleviate suffering and spread compassion to the less fortunate. We stay in Singapore at the end of the show to prepare for the upcoming musical adaptation of the Water Repentance Sutra. Some 1,000 on-stage volunteers gathered together for the first time at the Beduk Stadium for rehearsal. We will leave you with these images. Thank you for watching DaAi Headlines. Goodbye.